What's up, you guys, and welcome back to Stalk My Life 101. So today I am bringing you another Fuller House review as my review Tuesdays, which is normally for Pretty Little Liars, but since it's on hiatus, I'm doing Fuller House. So today we're doing episode 6, and the title of this is The Legend of Explosivo. So this show was, again, 25 minutes, and it had two different storylines that we were following. One was of Jackson and him really just acting out and being a boy, and DJ trying to cope with that because she's used to having sisters, I guess. And the other one is Kimmy Gibbler trying to adjust to not being the cool parental unit in the house because Stephanie is. So the show starts off really with Jackson coming home, and he has on this big winter coat, and DJ's like, it's 90 degrees. Why do you have a winter coat on? I just came from San Francisco, and it was like 59. I don't know if it's because it was April, but it's literally surrounded by water, so I highly doubt that it gets 90 degrees in San Francisco, but I can't say. But she goes, 90 degrees, why are you wearing a coat? And he's like, why can't I just wear a coat in 90 degree weather, you know, like National Coat Swapping Day, because it wasn't even his coat. So she removes the coat, and come to find out, he's like all banged up and he's got this really bad scratch. So she's like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, nothing. So she turns to Max, and Max rats him out. She's like, oh, well, he wiped out while doing a skateboarding thing. So then he says he was at his friend's house, and he always goes to his friend's house, and he's always getting injured, and, you know, DJ wants to know why. So every time she asks her son something, he doesn't tell her the truth, so she turns to the middle son, who's younger than him, Max, and Max tells the truth. But her son had already bribed him with, like, all these snacks. Jackson, that's his name, I couldn't remember. Jackson was bribing him with, like, all these snacks or whatever. So DJ installs like this tracking device on her phone, and she's starting to track Jackson because she told Jackson and Max that they can't go over to this boy's house anymore. And without Jackson knowing, she put the tracking device on. And so she's at the vet, and, you know, she's dealing with the really hot coworker that we saw in like episode 2 or something. And he's all like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm installing this app to try and track Jackson. So he's like, you're stalking your son? And she's like, no, I'm just following him and finding out what he's doing without him knowing. And the tracker shows that he actually goes to his friend's house. Now, Stephanie had gotten them all tickets to this Mexican wrestling match, which was like a really big deal. And Jackson was all amped to go because she got tickets for everyone. So, needless to say, when DJ finds out that, you know, Jackson is over there, she runs over there, and she sees that Max is all pillowed up laying on a mattress, and Jackson jumps off of a shed onto Max doing a Mexican wrestling move, and she's just completely just bewildered at the fact that her son is doing such reckless shenanigans. And her coworker said it best to her before she left, he's a boy, you have to understand that boys do reckless, stupid things. It's what boys do. And so she goes over there, and, you know, she finds out if Max is okay, and she's like, what are you guys doing here? I told you you can't be here. And Max goes, well, Jackson said that you said we could come. So naturally, they get punished, and Jackson's allowed to go to the Mexican match, but Max is. So now let's go back and talk about the whole Kimmy Gibbler thing. So Kimmy Gibbler has a daughter, Ramona, and Ramona's on the dance team at her school. And they have come up with, like, this choreography, but it's missing, like, one part of the choreography. And Kimmy wants to do this Kimmy Gibbler shuffle, whatever the heck it is. And they are not feeling it. Like, they're just like, what is happening? What is happening? You all know that look that you give, or the thought that you have when you see something that you do not understand why or how, the current event questions. You know, who, what, when, where, why, and how. Because I no entienda. I don't understand. So they turn to Stephanie, and Stephanie helps them come out with, like, a cooler part of the dance. And she says that they can perform it in between the wrestling acts at the Mexican Wrestling Fest. So now they're all like, yeah, that's cool. And Kimmy walks in, and she's like, what's going on? Like, you're not doing the Gibbler Shuffle or whatever the heck that dance is called. And the girls are just saying, you know, well, Stephanie did something cooler. So now this causes friction and animosity between Stephanie and Kimmy, because every time Stephanie says something or does something, Kimmy's all like, ooh, okay, the cooler aunt. And Stephanie is like, oh, okay, well, you're just kind of stuck in, like, the 90s. And Kimmy does all the 90s cliche, like, talk to the hand, as if whatever, and, like, Moon walks out and she's like, I'm not stuck in the 90s, this is all 80s. So now let's flash forward where the two stories kind of collide. So the gang is ready to leave. They go, and they're enjoying the match or whatever. And Jackson calls his best friend over, and they come up with a scheme to let Jackson go. So Jackson has on a mask, and he's going to pretend to just be a regular goer. And his best friend attached the cell phone to Comet Jr.'s collar. So that way it seems like it was still moving around in case DJ decided to check the app. So, while they're there, Stephanie was DJing the event, and she goes, you know, I think Jackson learned his lesson, like, just let him come. So, she goes, you know what, you're right, I'll call him. So, DJ goes to call Jackson. It's always funny how these things always work out, right? Right, okay. DJ goes to call Jackson and tell him, you know, you should come. The phone rings. The best friend doesn't answer the phone. Jackson walks into the stadium, and Max was dressed as this famous wrestler who happens to be a midget, so him and Max are the same height. But Max and Stephanie, well, actually, Jackson and Stephanie made a special bone thing for Max, and Max gave it to his favorite wrestler. So when Jackson enters into the stadium and he sees this short wrestler with that bone stick that he made for his brother, he thinks it's his brother, so he jumps in the ring to save him, but it's actually not his brother. And so now everyone's like, who is this weird, like, who's this new kid or whatever that's fighting, this new wrestler? Obviously has no experience. And Max knows something is up, so Max gets closer, and he's like literally like laning on the ring, which, you know, you can't do that anywhere. And come to find out that it was Jackson because they took his mask off. So now DJ sees him in there getting his butt kicked, and DJ jumps in, and DJ starts to, like, fight. And it was really hard to tell if it was the actual DJ Tanner, like the actual actress, Candace Cameron Bure, or if it was a stunt double, because the stunt double looked shockingly a lot like her, and I'm sure if I paused in the right moment, I would have been able to decipher better, but just being caught up in the action, I really couldn't tell, and I thought that was amazing, because that thing is more annoying, especially for someone like me who is kind of hyper attentive to certain things. When I'm watching something and they swap out the actress, like, no one notices, but it's so obvious, and it was really cool that in this episode, you couldn't really tell. So she ends up, like, kicking these guys' butts, and then Max's favorite wrestler comes in and they tag team, and it's like, whoa, all is cool, and she ends up getting like a Mexican wrestling name. And then it's time for the halftime show. One of the girls called out sick, and they asked Stephanie to be in there, but Stephanie sees the disappointment in Kimmy, and she's like, as your coach, I advise you to pick your best dancer, and she's right there. So all the girls are like, waltz. And Kimmy was already ready to go. She had the outfit on and everything. And everybody's just like, what? And she's like, I know what you're thinking. I did not poison that girl. And they get out there and they do the original dance routine. So then Stephanie goes, do you guys want to see more? And the other girls are like, but we don't have any more. And Ramona looks at her mom and goes, yeah, we do. Don't we, Mom? And Kimmy, in true Kimmy form, is like, put that music on. Put some stank on it. Like, oh, Kimmy. And they started doing the Kimmy shuffle, and it actually ended up working out with the song and the theme of it being Mexican wrestling. And all's well that ends well with that. Then the scene cuts, and it goes to Jackson and DJ having a heart-to-heart conversation, because it's Fuller House, which is a spinoff of Full House. And the show isn't the show without heartfelt conversations, meaningful lessons, and hugs. The three things that go into making Full or Fuller House. So they have a conversation, and DJ's just like, I don't understand why you're being so reckless. And he's like, I'm just trying to have fun. And she's like, yeah, but you're just so much like your dad. And he's like, well, Dad was cool. He did crazy, scary stuff all the time. And she was like, yeah, but your dad was a wrestler. A firefighter. You're just being reckless. And he goes, why don't you try and, like, so he sees the empathy in his mom's eyes, because she's basically just like, she basically says, I already lost your dad and I really don't want to lose you again. She didn't say those specific words, but that's what she was basically hinting at. And so he's like, all right, I guess I can try to be a little more safe. And she's like, a lot more safe. And she goes, okay, I guess I can be a little less overprotective. And he goes, a lot more overprotective. And she was like, all right, we'll start off with a little bit. And she's like, but I still don't like you hanging out with that kid. And he's like, but that's my best friend. He's my Kimmy Gibbler. And I like the fact that he used that analogy for DJ to understand. And I do kind of like how you see, because if you remember Fuller House, Kimmy did get DJ to do some things that was unorthodox to DJ that DJ wouldn't have normally done. And when Jackson said that about, you know, the correlation of his friendship with this guy and DJ's friend with Gibbler, she really understood what that meant. Like, okay, well, every person with common sense has that one friend that gets them to do the most sporadic, dangerous things. And that's how the show ended. I don't know. It wasn't a bad episode. I felt like it picked up a lot more life towards like the middle of it. But it was an okay episode. I think the show is starting to grow on me a little bit more. Don't tell anyone. No, I can be honest. It's starting to grow on me a little bit more. So this is episode 6, which means that there is 7 more episodes that we're going to go through. And I'm excited to see what happens. So if you want to see what happens in my reaction to more episodes of Fuller House, if you want to see my reactions to Once Upon a Time, which I normally do on Sundays after the show, Eastern Standard Time, then I suggest you go ahead and click that subscribe button and join the GiGi Meister Merpod and come on all kinds of adventures with me. Thank you so much. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and share, because sharing is caring. I will see you guys later on. Loves and likes ya. Bye!